before we get into this combo real quick,
Mhm.
briefly, what do y'all think? What do y'all think is going to happen with Sean Diddy Combs? Just real quick. I don't want to go on and on, but what do y'all think is going to happen as far as
He going
um,
to jail.
you think he's going to jail
Going
for
to
life?
prison. I don't know about a lot. Well, he's probably going to get a lengthy sentence. He's going
I
to end up like
mean,
R. Kelly.
Yeah, like he's going to jail, but it's like, how long is he going to jail? Is he going to act like he blind like Bill Cosby and get out sooner?
Shit, that might be a good idea.
oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
he's
That
going
might
to
be the play.
He's gonna be in there. I mean, you can tell automatically now, denying the bond 3 times now. No, they're keeping him in there.
Yeah,
They are
Yeah, it's
keeping
like
him in there.
they want to prove a point with this guy.
Yeah.
So
he
What's the
offered them $50 million bond. When did they turn down a $50 million? Be like, you can't give us the world. We
because it
still
ain't
Right.
ain't gonna
about
let
that.
you out.
It's about
yeah,
proving the
right?
point. Yeah,
Yep.
yep.
Exactly.
we're gonna. The
When the
point is now to
government
make you, and we're gonna make
has
an
it out
example
for
out
An
of
you,
you. So
example.
yeah,
Absolutely.
oh, absolutely.
Yep.
When
Hmm.
the government has it out for you, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that I find weird now is that they're like trying to tie everything into like anybody who ever went to a party, any friend, and they're going
Mm-hmm.
hard. Like I don't know if y'all saw Jaguar Wright's interview on Pierce Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
Jaguar Wright she's a little off, you know what I'm saying? But she's been talking. She's a little off, but she's been saying things about the industry for years. But
Yeah.
people swear to God it's going to be Jay-Z next. Now,
Mm.
I
Mm.
pray to God that it's not Jay because man, I'm telling you, it's going to be a big disappointment for hip hop if they get Jay in there.
It would
Well,
be.
Jay Z already gave us his best music, so like,
so you don't care. It's like he's expendable now.
Oh no. No.
what else can Jay Z offer us other than advice? I mean, he already gave us. No, I'm just
Damn,
kidding.
Zell,
It
you
is
don't
sad
give a
though.
damn,
Like,
huh?
no, I'm just kidding. It is sad, but it's like they do have to make an example out of Diddy to say your money can't buy you out of this trouble. And when they got
Right.
Mhm.
that leaked footage, that video of him stomping Cassie, like,
Yeah.
yo,
That's the
if
nail
you're
in the
not
coffin right
guilty, you look guilty. You got a smoking gun in your
Mhm.
hand, and after they raided
there. Right.
both your cribs on two, like in Cali and in Florida,
Mhm.
come on, man.
Yeah,
Right.
Imagine,
Well,
and they found 1,000 bottles of baby oil and all his footage. Come on, you in trouble. You can't buy your way
they
out of this.
said
No, can't buy your way
on
yeah.
out.
Court TV
And
that the attorney that's representing all of the
Mhm.
plaintiffs, the civil attorney,
Yeah.
they said that they've already reached out to numerous celebrities
Mhm.
to give them a chance to either settle or
Damn.
be
Yep.
named publicly, and they said that several celebrities have already settled.
Yep.
Wow.
So, mhm. And that was on Court TV yesterday.
Mhm.
but you
That
knew they
that
had it
attorney
out for
Buzzy.
him when the
Yep.
Cassie footage came out because the Cassie case was settled. That footage didn't come
Right.
out to after they raided his house. So who
Yep.
would have access to it to leak that tape? The people who raided the house. You know what I mean? So that
Mhm.
clearly
Well,
says
they
we're
said
out for
that.
this guy.
Well, they said that they were saying that somebody at the hotel leaked it because Diddy paid $50,000 for that tape to
Yeah.
make sure that it
So
didn't come out. He
how would the
paid
hotel get
the
it back
hotel
if he paid for the tape? I'm sure he paid for every
what
copy
they're
of it.
well, no, what they're saying. Well, what they were saying is that somebody made a copy. Somebody at the hotel made a copy of it and leaked it to
Mm.
CNN.
All right.
And they
Listen,
said that
listen.
Pause,
This
they said it was
pause.
this
somebody.
I don't necessarily trust everything media says. Now let's think about this logically.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm just saying what they were saying on Court
Mhm.
TV. There's I forgot the guy's name. He used to work. He worked with Diddy several times. This black guy, I forgot his name. And what he was saying, this was how he summed it up. He said that somebody who had it out for Diddy was able to get a hold of that tape because Diddy paid $50,000 to make sure that it didn't leak. They feel
Right.
that somebody at the hotel kept a copy of the tape and then leaked it to CNN
Here's my problem.
because it wasn't about money.
Here's my problem with that. Here's my
Mm.
problem with that.
Mhm.
If that person had it out for Diddy and they had a
Mhm.
copy of that tape, they wouldn't have waited, what, 7, 8 years later to leak it? The fact that the tape doesn't come out until after they raid his house, that doesn't tell me the hotel did that. If that person had a problem with Diddy and had access to leak the tape, especially if it ain't about money. If it's not about money,
Well, it
why
could
am I
have
holding
been.
on to this? If I got a
Well,
problem
it
with this
could
stuff.
have been.
So, B, are you
Well, it
saying
could
that
have been. It could have been somebody who didn't get what they wanted. You know what I'm saying?
Nah.
Things could have been good for that 7 or 8 years, but
wait?
as soon as, cause look, relationships go bad all the time, and and they said that the reason why Diddy made so many videotapes, and a lot of celebrities that came to his house didn't know that they were being recorded,
Right.
was because
But
Diddy wanted to have leverage against the
I'm
people that
saying,
came to the party just in case
focusing on
anything
that
popped
one
out.
tape from the hotel, not the stuff at the
Hmm.
house. If there was a copy of that tape and the person who had that copy had it out for
Hmm.
Diddy, like you just said, they said, right? Then why would
Hmm.
he wait to release that tape? If it's not about money, then why would I hold on to this until now? Why wouldn't I have exploited or exposed this years ago when I had the
Because
tape?
that person was probably still cool with Diddy then. You see what
Well,
I'm
wait a
saying?
minute. Wait a minute.
People fall
Wait,
out. When
wait,
people
wait, wait,
fall out with each other,
wait.
then they start backstabbing each
So,
other at that
so,
point.
Mm.
so the understanding, just for clarity, the understanding
Mhm.
is that the person who leaked it would probably be supposedly a hotel employee, right? Or someone who
Mhm.
worked for the hotel.
Mhm.
So if I understand what you're saying, B, are you're saying that it probably was the feds who leaked it? Is that
That's
what you're
my
saying?
thought. That's my thought.
That's the thought. Okay, I just wanted to
'Cause
understand what.
President's
I
what?
don't think if I have a problem with what I see on this tape, and if I have a problem with Diddy, I'm not going to hold that tape for 8 years. I'm going to expose this if I have an issue
Right.
with this person. I'm not going to wait until after it becomes sensationalized. I'm going to blow the whistle. You know what I mean? I'm going to be the person like,
Why
hey,
not?
here, this is, you know what I mean? Give it to CNN 8 years ago, but it doesn't come out until
Well,
after they
no,
raid his house. If
Mm.
he bought
no,
the tape, wait,
not if you're on that
but
payroll.
no, yeah,
Not
logically,
if you're on. You're not the bite the
if
hand
he
that feeds you.
bought the tape, if I'm buying a tape of me doing some foul shit, right? I'm gonna buy every
Right.
copy of the tape. I'm gonna make sure there are no other copies. I'm not gonna just
You
spend.
can't. There's no way to. There's no way to ensure that
You
though.
don't think
Well,
How
that's
do
the
you
you don't
ensure
think
that
that a
there's no other
man,
copies?
so he can do all these other things, but he can't confirm that there's no other tapes.
How do you confirm it though?
Mm.
well, that's a difficult
You have to
thing
take
because
somebody's word
it's a
that this
difficult
is the
thing
last
now.
tape, right? You have
That's
to
a
take
difficult.
their word that, oh yeah, this
You
is
know,
it.
you can
You
confirm it
don't know what
by
somebody's holding
you can confirm it
somewhere.
by this. If this was so, this is the tape. We need to then have one of my staff members or employees go through all these tapes that you have at this location and make sure this is nowhere. There's no other duplicates. There's ways you can do this, but it
Well, I
wouldn't
think
take
Mm.
8 years for it to come out until after they raid my
well,
house.
I think I agree with that too, B. But I also think that it's difficult as far as the copies because like back in the day, like you had the VHS tape. It was hard to make a dub. Now everything with digital, you
But
just click
what's the
right click.
timeline on
You do
this?
right click and copy and paste.
Think about the timeline. And again,
Mm.
I don't want to feel like I'm defending him or his actions. I'm
No, I
just
feel you.
saying the
No,
timeline.
I
So this
understand.
happens in the hotel lobby, right? He knows there's
Hmm.
cameras there. You don't think he immediately goes to say, "Hey, let's get this footage"? And do they have time enough to make tapes, smuggle them out? Okay, I don't know. I don't know the timeline, but my point is, it's fishy to me. It's a little sketchy when it doesn't come out until after the feds raid your house.
Mm.
If I bought the copy of
Right,
the tape and then the feds
right.
raid my house and then what was in my house is now exposed, that
Mm.
tells me the people who had access to it have now put it. You know what I mean?
That's plausible though. That's really is
That's what I'm
Absolutely. I
plausible
saying.
mean,
thinking about it. That's true.
that's entirely possible.
Oh,
And
Zell,
now,
Entirely
I can only see like half of your face.
who me?
Oh, really?
Oh,
Let's
Z.
see. Is that better?
It's like maybe if you could tilt it up or something. There you go.
There
There,
you go.
there.
So
I'm better. I thought I had too much headroom at first. Is that's good?
Nah, like the top of your there, there you go. Perfect,
That's
perfect,
it. Let me
perfect.
see.
Yep,
but
Was
what I'm
was
that's
it better before? Like, is that better?
I think that's better because we can see
That's
the
better.
actual now. Now I can't see your mouth. Just there you
There you go.
right. That's
All right,
perfect
So,
right there.
but no, the point
Make
I'm
let's
sure
try
making
that
is
that.
take
perfect.
that thought and then add that
Is
to
that better?
how he's being treated now, where we're not gonna your money can't do anything for you. There's no all
I mean,
that is
I mean, it's
that's the
entirely
example
possible.
that's being said, man. They're doing all these pieces are falling in place for a reason. So
Mm,
It's true.
That's a good point. I never thought
that's
about it. I
How
true.
never
about
thought
this?
about it like that.
Have you guys thought about none of this occurred until after he announced that he was a billionaire? I was like, wait a minute.
Mm,
He's been doing it for a long time, clearly, right?
was he
So
trying to
after
buy
he announced he
NBC?
was a billionaire, and then there was that window of time that New York gave, Cassie came forward. The dude from Chicago that was producing that had a relationship with him came forward. And now it's up to,
Yeah.
I heard today they said it could be as many as 300 people.
Damn.
You know
it's
what?
It's like an
That
avalanche.
attorney, that same
crazy.
attorney
Crazy.
who said that they got calls from like 3,200 people or something
Yeah,
like
they have a
that.
That's
whole
crazy.
They
hotline.
said that, yeah,
Right.
but they said that they are very, very, very seriously vetting
Right.
people.
Yeah, you have
They've
to.
had to turn a
Yes,
lot of
You have
people
to.
away.
they have to.
Yeah.
Yes, they've had to turn.
It's a money
He
grab.
said that, yeah, he said that his inclination is to believe all victims.
Mm-hmm.
However, it has to be corroborated.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have some kind of proof, text message, video, something. So they've had to
Right.
turn a lot of people away, and of course, you are going to have lots of people that come out the woodworks who are just flat out lying.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 I
Yep.
Yeah. You're
mean,
gonna have a
let's
lot of
just
those
keep it
because it's
real. I'm
just
gonna keep it
it's a
100.
great
Yep.
You're gonna have a
opportunity.
lot of people who are
It's
just
a great
not telling
opportunity
the
to get
truth.
some money because at this point,
Absolutely.
because even
Mm-hmm.
if, like I was saying before, like even if he becomes not guilty criminally, which ain't gonna happen. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Civilly,
they've
it's
got
gonna be a
so
whole thing.
many. When
Mm-hmm.
I saw Gloria Albright, I think that's her name. Is it Gloria
We're
Albright?
already.
Allred.
Oh.
When I saw Gloria Allred, I said, "Nah, his finances is cooked forever." Because when Gloria Allred when she come out and start representing people,
Mm.
man, the
Yeah.
line is about to be
Was she
Yeah,
the
long.
one that was repping some of those R. Kelly victims?
She
I
repped
think so.
them. She
Yeah.
repped all the people for Bill Cosby too. All the Bill Cosby victims.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gloria,
Yeah. Yeah.
Gloria, when Gloria Allred is on your head, your pockets are
Mm.
done. Because those the civil lawsuits are gonna be out of here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be crazy.
Yep.
But
And
we gonna we
now
gonna we gonna see what's
we
up.
Yep.
can't even play games and be like, take that, take that, take that. That takes on a whole new meaning now.
Oh God.
Yo, a lot of things Puff said. Man, it's crazy. It's crazy. Well, you know what? It's funny. Well, not funny, but ironic is that his first album was called No Way Out. Remember
Mm-hmm.
that?
Yeah,
Hmm.
that first solo
Mm-hmm.
And
album.
it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
irony of it. No Way Out.
It was
So
what, Diddy and the Family
we
or Puffy and the Family?
Diddy and the
Yeah.
family, yep.
Puff Daddy and the family. Yeah.
And the
Okay.
family, yeah.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
Way Out.
Oh.
Yeah.
So we gonna see what happens, but we gonna get to the real reason for this podcast tonight. So we're gonna talk about marriage. And I think we have a dope panel. We
Mm-hmm.
have two married people and three unmarried people. Which I think I want to approach this subject a little differently because we have the relationship part of it and then we have the legal part of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think what'll be interesting is I wanted to just talk about the whole subject of marriage. So I want to kick this off. So I wanted to see what everybody thought as far as, do we think marriage is dead? Is there a purpose? What Let's start off with, is marriage dead in today's society? Do y'all think it's kind of a dead thing or something that's, you know, on the
Mm-hmm.
decline for good?
Who want to go first?
Marriage dead.
Ladies first. Ladies first.
Yeah, ladies first. What do you think, G?
No, I don't think marriage is dead. I think that people don't take their vows as serious as they need to these days. The sanctity of it all. I think people play around with it, which is not good because it's supposed to be more than just financial. And people talk about that stability. It's also it's a spiritual thing as well. So if you're joking around with that, it's not going to end up good. It's not going to go anywhere good.
Yeah.
If you don't have that foundation. between the both of you. I would think. I've never been married, so but this is just my my take on it from what I see, and
Mm-hmm.
from seeing like my grandparents were married for so many years, and just that foundation of love and trust and honor was always there, and today it's not the same. I would just as back in the day, it's just not the same. It's not the same at all to
Okay.
me. But I don't think it's dead.
Okay.
It's still very much alive, but
It's
I
alive.
just think that people need to take it more serious, if they're really going to do it. Do it for the right reasons. That's what I would say.
Okay. That's what's up.
Mhm.
All right. What you think, twin?
Uh, I think marriage is, I wouldn't say that it's dead. I would say that it's the face of marriage has really, really changed. And I don't know if that's for the better. Um, I agree with Gina that people don't take their vows as seriously as they should. I feel like people treat marriage as more transactionally, that that's something that they can just easily walk away from or just be done with it, especially when you of course you look at the media, urban pop culture, and you see how people, 1 minute they're married and a year later they're divorced, and it's no big deal, then they're on to the next one, and it that type of thing. But I think that marriage just marriage has changed in such a way that it I don't know if it seems as appealing as it once did, when you think about just how relationships in general have changed and how people have changed, and how difficult it is, when you're dating over 40, to find someone who um, that you can connect with on the same level and find the same wants and needs and desires. And um, I don't know. I don't know. I guess really it just really depends on finding the right person and get married. Like Gina said, getting married for the right reasons.
Okay.
Um,
That makes sense.
yeah, pretty much. Pretty
Fellas, what
much.
up?
I'm gonna go first because y'all both married. So I'm gonna cap off the single person perspective. But
You gotta take a seat first, huh?
yeah, but no. I think both ladies just made very valid points. I don't know if marriage is dead. To be honest with you, um, it's probably not as prevalent as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of reasons for that. You mentioned our like the grandparents and how they used to stay married. I think there's a perception of more options now, so people aren't as willing to put the work in relationships. I think people tend to forget that marriage isn't just a love thing; it's a business transaction too, and they're not even thinking about it in that aspect. Some people, I literally know people who got married just because they wanted a wedding. You know what I mean? Like didn't want it. You didn't know that at the time, but it turned out that's all they really wanted. They weren't really for that relationship. Um, so people get married for the wrong reasons, and it then when you get to the divorce rate and how we those unmarried people can see how divorces happen and how often they happen and how it affects especially men financially. Some men are like, hey, why would I do that? Why put myself in that position? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So choosing the right partner is very important. Knowing the business aspect of what you're doing is very important. It's not dead, but it ain't in a good place right now. I'll say that.
It's on the
It's
ropes.
on the ropes. Because there's this generation, especially now, these younger people, they're not really, trying to get married in that regard. Or they look at marriage as like a stepping stone. You know what I mean? I'll marry this person for 6 months, divorce, because they see it so prevalently. Like, I'll just, we were
Six
married,
months.
That's crazy.
it doesn't mean as much to these people anymore. So,
Who do you
Yeah.
know getting married, getting married on a stepping stone for 6 months?
look at all these celebrities that get married, divorced, married, divorced. It's not like a big, and
Yeah,
that's the influence that these younger people are seeing. They're seeing
that's a
celebrities
fact.
run through marriages like it's nothing.
That's a fact.
So
Yeah.
True.
that's what I'm saying. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
not dead, because some people are out there getting married for the right reasons and doing the work in it and getting past that honeymoon phase of the relationship where it's like, okay, now we have to really be partners. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hmm.
But I think a lot of people, once that part dies, they start to, drift. So
Yeah.
that's just my thought.
That's what's up. Mr. Zell,
Yes, sir.
the first of the
All right.
married ones.
First of all, I want to give kudos to all the single people and all the insight that you all brought to what marriage is. Like,
Really,
that's dope. Those are all very valid reasons
I tell them
why
to
you
shut up.
feel that marriage is not dead. No, those are good reasons, like, for real. So coming from someone that I've been married for 11 years now, it'll be 12 years, November 11th. I remember the date, 11/11/2012 is when we got married. She told me to pick the day so I don't forget it, and I don't forget it.
11, 11,
Bet
12.
not.
And like, even in terms of what marriage means and what it is, she told me to pick the day so I won't forget. And I wanted to pick a day that, numerically, meant something. So originally we selected 11/11/11.
Mm.
However, my money wasn't right and I couldn't give her the wedding that she deserved. Right. My plan is to only do this thing once. So I wanted to give her the wedding that she wanted so that it wouldn't be any regrets like, oh, only if we coulda, woulda, shoulda. So we pushed it back to 11/11/12 so that we can get married that date and I could allow my wife or my fiance at the time to have the wedding that she wanted, that she deserved, that she desired. Because it's not only meeting halfway, but it's like, I got to give 100%. She's got to give 100% in order for us to do it. Because if I'm only giving 50%, I'm giving her half of me. I'm giving her half of what she deserves. I'm giving half of what the relationship deserves. So I got to go 100. She got to go 100. So we can then meet this 100% and compromise.
Hmm.
The Bible talks about marriage all the time. So I'm going to get biblical on this, right?
Get
So
biblical.
the
Get
Bible
biblical.
Go
states
for it.
that a man will leave his mother and father and cleave unto his wife, right? The Bible says that when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. So we forget that we're making a promise to God when we take these wedding vows. Like, you're taking these vows in the sight of the people that are present, plus you're making a promise to God, right? So if you break this vow, you breaking this vow not only to all these people who said y'all lied, but you breaking a promise to God, right? So if you're
Hmm.
not going to do it for the right reasons, don't get married. Now, I'm not saying marriage is for everyone, because it's not. Some people are selfish. It's about them. It's me, 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 me. I don't want to compromise. If I want to go out to eat, I only want to go to the places that I like to eat.
Right.
If I want to go on a trip, a vacation, I only want to go on trips and vacations to where I want to go. It's no compromise. We took counseling. And I think that's something that a lot of people are missing, is having a spiritual connection. Because, as was already discussed, B, you said it's a business transaction, and it is. We
Right.
all know that it's a business transaction. Otherwise, you wouldn't have to sign legal documents. It is a business transaction,
Yep.
right?
Hmm.
But it's also a spiritual transaction.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're missing. We're missing that spiritual connection and the promise that we're making to God and saying, hey, I need some counseling to make sure we're understand. Like, I need to, you have two households, right? That are combining into one. I wasn't
Right.
raised the way my wife was raised. I didn't have her set of parents. No, you shouldn't marry that person either. If you got the same set of parents as them,
Yeah, that's a
you
bad
should
thing.
not.
It's not good.
I hope he
Yeah,
wouldn't.
It's not.
It's
Don't
not a
do
good
it,
thing.
right?
that's
So
a whole nother show.
that's a whole, for real, right?
That's a
A
whole
whole
So
other
nother
you
show.
show.
got two separate households with two values, right? You got raised a certain way, I got raised a certain way. Your mom and dad had different ideals on things as well. So you listen to mom, you listen to dad, and you come up with what you feel is what's for you, right? And then vice versa. Then that other person has a mom, has a dad, or has some people in their lives who ever helped raise them, give them ideas on what's right, what's wrong, a course of moral values and a moral compass. And then you bring that into the relationship. You also bring the hurt, the pain, the previous relationships that you were in, the things that went well in previous relationships, the things that went wrong in previous relationships, the trust, the mistrust, kids, right? You bring a lot of things into a marriage, and you have to be willing, as my pastor said when he gave us counseling, he was like, you can't always be right. And she can't always be right. You guys got to meet in the middle. You have to compromise. And if you're not willing to compromise, you should not get married. We're not in the same place that we were before, because my life has changed. Things have changed. Like even when women have children, if you love this woman before she has kids, her body's going to change when she has children.
Yes.
Love her with the stretch marks. Love her when she like my feet are swelling. Oh my God. Love her when she like my back is hurt. Baby, let me rub your back. Let me rub those feet. I love you anyway. Like, and when you get older, you get gray hairs, your body changes, weight gets on you. Like, I can't shake this weight.
Right.
Hey, you got to marry somebody that you like. I don't not only love you, but I like you. Like, you got to like that person.
Right.
Like, they got to be your friend. It can't be just romantic. Like, that romance is like,
people will look into like relationships and they'll look at like the physical, and it's like, yo, that physical ain't gonna always be there. You need to have a foundation of like a friendship. Like, what happens when that those
Well,
looks
you know what?
ain't what they used to be.
That one, let me give you a piece. So I've been married this year, 2025 will be 10 years, right? So we're just behind you, Zell. So appreciate you. And here's the thing. A lot of things, so many things you said. I mean, you pretty much said everything that yes, just perfect, because a lot of the things that I was going to say is exactly what you said. And you don't really know until you learn. You don't know until you in it. But I do think that the compromise is the biggest thing. So, and everybody said it too. Twin, G, B, everybody said the things as far as what they see in society and the differences in how marriage isn't as popular. But I think that the consensus is marriage hasn't really changed. People have changed, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
for me, you know, one thing I will say, and I'll be totally candid, like I wasn't not looking to get married. Like I wasn't intentional. I was open for it. I was open to it. Definitely open to it, but I was not intentional about finding a wife at the time when I met my wife. I was God literally just put her in the area, put her in the right place at the right time. Now, if she was on this show right now, she would tell you that she was intentional and she was looking and she had a certain idea in mind, and she said that when she met me, I it was like I was that person. You know what I'm saying? And she had prayed about it and everything. And I say all that because it's so interesting, because her view of how she came into the marriage and what she prayed for and thought about was one thing, and me, I'm just like, here I am in my studio recording, and she happened to be a friend of a client. It was so random how I met her, totally random how I met my wife. But I say all that to say that, regardless of how you come into the marriage, you still got to do the same work, right? And so I learned that I wasn't intentional about finding someone, but I did. I was open to it. Now, we went through our marriage, a lot of the same things. We've changed, we've grown together, we've fought, you know what I'm saying? We've fought, we've loved, laughed, and all of that. And one thing I will say is that when you're with somebody and you're gonna get married, for me, Zell, you said something about as far as having kids. That's something that we definitely wanted. And I think it was, quite honestly, really the glue, because we got married pretty quickly, and we got to know each other as we were married. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would honestly say that when we got married, relatively, we didn't know each other that well, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? When we got married, we only knew each other a little under 2 years. You know what I'm saying? But it's a humbling experience because you realize that, okay, this is actually much more than a wedding day, like B said. And, you know, if I'm going to be with this person, um, particularly if we're going to have kids, there's a whole nother job of work to do. But my point is that as far as the kids, so I do think that one of the things I wanted to ask everybody is that minus kids, because we have a lot of people in society now that don't even want kids. So minus kids, is there an incentive to get married? And I would say in some cases that minus kids, um, people might not get married. You know what I'm saying? And I would be honest. I mean, I'll be honest. Yeah, if I had met my wife, if I had met Faith and she said I don't want kids, then we wouldn't have got married. You know what I'm saying? Because kids were definitely something that I wanted. And that's, if I'm being honest, if most people being honest, is usually a part of that, unless you already have children and you're coming into the situation where you already have children, that's another story.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But like Zell said, you do have people that sometimes maybe one already has a kid and the other person doesn't. And let's say it's the woman who already has kids and the guy doesn't. And the woman may say, "Yeah, I'm open to have kids," but she really don't want to have no more
For the
kids.
two
It's something
to be
really
tied,
important.
but she won't tell you that. So
Yeah, and
all
you
the
know
time you
what?
thinking is
And I
Yeah.
and I
yeah.
and I know of a situation like that where the woman already has a child and the guy didn't have a child and the guy's like a stepdad, but the woman didn't want to have more kids, but she wasn't really honest about it. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And I think that part is so important, but I say that to say that a big part of the motivation to be married, um, in a lot of ways, sometimes is family. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
that being said, the motivation for getting married, I think, to all of your points, and I think be it all of y'all said something about that. But as far as young people now, you have people that don't necessarily want kids. They don't know when they want kids, and that is kind of tied to, well, what incentive do I have to be married to somebody in the sense of legally? You know what I'm saying? Legally tie my name to you. Because once, like you said, it's a business transaction. If I legally tie myself to
Yeah.
you,
Mm-hmm.
it ain't that easy to get out. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? And you know, even if you're not a millionaire, whatever little money you have, whatever little thing you got, it's
Yeah.
gonna
It don't
it's
belong
gonna
to
have
that
to be
person.
chopped up.
And
That's true.
even with kids, because at that kids can be monetized at that point when once the relationship is over. There are women who will monetize those children. You know what I mean? Like now you gonna pay X amount of dollars. You know, it's just it all. I don't know if there is for these younger people the incentive to want to be married. Like I said, because what they'll see is they'll see how often divorces happen, and they'll hear the stories of people, men losing, assets and money, and it's just the narrative is such that younger men are like, "Hey, why would I do that? Why would I put myself in that position?" You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's not dead because those who are mature enough to understand it understand the need for it, and but I don't think these younger folks are really in tune with that or looking to move in that way. A lot of them aren't, so
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
what do you think about the younger women too? Because most young women, I'm going to play a video in a little bit, but the idea was that women used to, when you were growing up, you'd ask when most women, they say, "Oh, I'm ready to get married. I'm ready to get married." You'd see women in their 20s, "Oh, I'm ready to get married." And now I think the newer generation of women are very candid. They're very candid, like, "Nah, I don't want to get married, not yet." You know what I'm saying? I'm waiting. You know what I'm
but they're
saying?
ready to
And
be mothers. They'll tell you
Right.
they'll have a baby before they go get married. You know what I mean? Like, and that's not the
Mhm.
that's true.
you know that
That's true in some
shouldn't be the
cases.
order if you can avoid it. You know what I mean? But
Right.
some people are actually like that's what they prefer. I don't want to be
Well,
married.
because
I
I think
want to be.
parenthood, I think because parenthood, This is my opinion. I think that parenthood in these days is much more. Remember a couple of weeks back, y'all wasn't on it, but it was just me, you, and I think on the pod we had a video where it was like this group. This is like Mocha Moms or something like that. About
Yeah.
they were specifically going to sperm banks to have children because they just didn't. They wanted to do it on their
The
own,
single mom
and
by
they
choice.
didn't want to have the
Mhm.
nuclear family thing. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So I think that parenthood is now seen as something very personal to yourself, versus trying to do this with someone else in a sense. You know what I'm saying? And obviously everybody's not going to have a nuclear family dynamic. There's many things that happen, and as obvious. But
Yeah.
point being is that I think that people look at I want to have kids as something that's very personal to them, and marriage is something you got to share and you got to compromise and do all these
Let,
things. So
let,
it's kind
let me
of
go just a
seen the
little bit
same.
deeper. I think that we are in a time now where people see more successful single parents than they do successful marriages.
Man, that's
And
a bar right there.
that
Mm.
thought makes them go, hey, well, I can do that. Marriage seems hard, but I can do that because I see it happening all the time. You know what I mean? That's the
Well, if I
society
can,
shifted in that way, I think.
yeah, if I can be psychological for a second.
Go ahead, Doc.
Um, no, seriously, to your point, it makes a lot of sense because loneliness is at an all-time high in this society, especially post COVID. That's when people really learned, when they were isolated, especially if they were single and alone, they were isolated. They really learned who they are and what they wanted and what it was like to be alone. And I think that people we have this intrinsic need to love and be loved. And having a baby seems like a much easier and greater guarantee of love and be loved than a romantic relationship, because it just seems like, especially these days, romantic relationships are on such shaky ground. And hey, if that person leaves, I still got my kid. My kid loves me. They need me.
Right.
I know that I have a guarantee of at least 18 years with this other person. And for the most part, am in control of this relationship. So I have this person. It's much easier to navigate this, and versus being in a relationship where now I have a much greater need to consider their feelings, consider their wants, their needs, their desires.
Compromise.
I can't
Yep.
tell them a compromise. Exact. I don't have to compromise, especially when they're up until the time they turn 18. They pretty much are under your control,
Mm-hmm.
and whether they want to accept it or not, they got to do what they're subject to doing what you say, and you're making all the decisions. You have a lot of control in that situation. You don't have that with an adult partner, and you're not worried about certain heartbreaking things like being cheated on. And I mean, of course, there's a whole other set of worries with children, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't think they're not thinking that far ahead. So that's why I feel like it's so much easier for people to be like, okay, well, I want a kid because it seems glamorous, and they're not thinking past the cute stage when it really gets hard. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because honestly, when my kids were infants, it was a whole lot easier. They ate, they slept, and they were easy to control because they couldn't walk nowhere.
Right.
They couldn't grow. They stayed in the crib.
Right.
Once they got to walking and going to school and being around other kids and start having opinions, then it's like, ooh, that's the work. The work
Yeah.
really starts. And I
Yeah.
think that when people realize how much work it is to be a parent, they start wishing that they had a partner. They start wishing that they had somebody to
Yeah.
do that with. And it becomes much more difficult to find a suitable partner when you're bringing children into a relationship. If you are a responsible parent.
Right.
Now, it's a whole other show to talk about parents who will just get with anybody to be with somebody, and they start putting this person before their children. But if you're a responsible parent and who knows the gravity of the duty that you have, it's difficult to find somebody else that's going to fit into that dynamic.
Well, I want to say one. I want to say one thing, real quick. I'll be honest with you. For me, um, I was very surprised that I found someone when I found someone. As a man, I'll be honest with you. I was really scared of these women out here. You know what I'm saying? Like at the time when I was looking, and I'll tell you why I was scared. I think I told Twin at a certain point before I met Faith. I was like, because I got married. Or we met each other I think I was 33. And I was telling my sister, I was like, I'm open to get married, but I don't want basically a woman who's going to tweak me, who's going to stress me out. And I'll be honest with you, one of the worries that I had and I'm just speaking as a man, and I want y'all to chime in too. As a man, one of my worries about women was that I wanted to find somebody who wanted to actually build a life together and not stress me out with all of her trauma and all of her weird, unrealistic expectations of what she thinks marriage and relationships are. And honestly, I think 9 times out of 10 you're going to go through that with women anyway to an extent. But my wife is a reasonable person. You know what I'm saying? I know you're looking at me crazy, Twin, but I'm saying that there's a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of unreasonable women out here. I'm not. There's a lot of good women, but there's a lot of unreasonable women. All the women want to get married. Oh, I want to get married. I want a husband. You could find a million women that say that, but when you pick through them and you kind of get to know them, there's a lot of women that they just become a problem.
That
It's like you're
goes
marrying a stress ball.
that goes back to what Zell said about finding the right partner. Like that's finding the
Yeah,
right partner is so important because what you
so
don't want to
important.
do is be locked in with
Yes,
the wrong
and
individual, and then you
a hundred
locked in for
percent,
life. You know what I'm saying?
and specifically
I
to
think
that point is somebody
people
who
like
is
people running to the courthouse to get divorced
Mm-hmm.
after 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
They,
well
after
exactly,
the first
and and,
argument, they don't
and,
want to do
spec-
it no more.
and
Now
specifically
this is
to
too
that
hard.
point,
It's too
specifically
much.
somebody who's not a woman who wants to enter into a marriage for the idea and wants me to be responsible for every emotion that she has. I'm responsible for you as a human being. I
Yes.
want to love you and you love me back, and to look at it as, let's show up for each other, let's be here for each other, but I don't want to be responsible for everything that may be wrong with you. That's not my job. So
Yeah.
that was what my fear was. I was like, I don't want a job. I want a partner, but I don't want a job. And sometimes I think as men, a lot of young men look at marriage like that. They like, it's not just the financial part of it, but a lot of times it just becomes a job because now I'm supposed to, rather than actually share a relationship with you, now I'm like your keeper of life. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of men are like, dude, I can't, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, this is like back in the day. Like, men are stressed too. There's a lot of men that are stressed, have stress, and don't have time to like just be just giving and not getting nothing back.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that a lot of young men express that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
If
Well,
I
Um,
again,
could,
I
let
think
me tell y'all the game that I was given by an old widower. So I met this old man. He was probably in his mid 80s, and I love talking to old people because old people can give you wisdom, give you game, and allow you to skip things that you would normally step into, right? So I asked him. I said, "How many times have you been married?" And he looked at me, leaned back. He said, "Married once." I was like, "Once?" He said, "You're only supposed to get married one time, but you have to make sure you do it right the first time."
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, "Gang, oh, do it right the first time. Otherwise," I got a buddy that said he on his second marriage. I said, "Number two?" He was like, "Yeah, my auntie told me to keep doing it till I get it right."
oh,
Like,
mm,
hey,
right.
B, you already said every 6 months
Yeah.
doing it again, right?
but
You
you know
can't.
what's crazy about that? Like,
That's not
keep
the
doing
right
it till I
reason.
get it till you get it right. That's like encouraging me to say, hey, when the butterflies are gone and the happy feelings are going away, and I'm just not satisfied
Yeah,
in this moment, as opposed to sticking it out, I'm gonna just bounce because this ain't right.
mm-hmm,
Because
mm-hmm.
relationships are gonna
but
have right. It's gonna
that's
be
like
peaks and
the
valleys, right?
microwave
It's gonna go
generation.
here. It's gonna go here.
Yeah,
But when you
yeah,
hit that peak, what that's that mentality makes sense. Okay, we're at a peak. I'm out. I'm gonna find somebody else so we can go. Or we hit that valley, I should say. I'm out. I'm gonna find somebody else so we can go up here. And when it comes back down, okay, I'm out until it gets right again. You'll never be content. You know what I mean? You'll never find that partner because you're always looking for the next thing. So
So we
on that,
talked about
oh,
loneliness,
please
right?
go ahead.
So I can say that, like, if you're married to the right person and you're evenly yoked, right? You're together, right? It's the greatest thing. I had back surgery in 2018. My wife bathed me. You know what I'm saying? I was like, wife, can I take a shower today? She like, yeah. I call her wife. I'm like, wife, can I take a shower today? She like, yeah, I got you, right? But the next year she had shoulder surgery. I had to help her, right? So it's like, yo, if it's the right person, they will help bathe you, right? And it's like,
Right.
I didn't feel bad. I did, but I was like, help, because I needed the help. I couldn't do it. I couldn't bend.
Yeah.
Like I had liquid stitches in my back, and I'm like, I just physically couldn't, right? I
Yeah.
couldn't.
that's
She
that
was like, I
partnership,
got
though. That's a true
right.
partner.
She was like,
That's
yo, if I had a girlfriend that I'm sometimes with her, sometimes not with, what girlfriend gonna be like, I got you?
oh
Like,
hell no.
Like,
Like a girl,
you can't even shower yourself.
a, gir- yeah, a girlfriend gonna be like, you know what? Call me when you heal up. You know what I'm
Bathe
saying?
you. Call them other bitches that you having. Have them come bathe you. Tell Keisha to
but
come bathe you. You was all giggling at her.
but
Well,
that's
you know
how
what?
we evolved, though. And I'm better now.
I want to
I
ask
can
y'all a
do the
question
Martha
though.
Random now. I can do whatever I want to do. The running man. Like I'm in a good place now. And it took
I
3
want to
months.
ask y'all a question. No, go ahead, Zell. I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah,
Go
no, it
ahead.
took 3 months for recovery for me to get back to 100% and actually
That's
better than I was before because I was suffering from sciatica, and which is a
Oh,
ooh,
bulging disc right pressing your sciatic nerve. So they went in and
yeah.
removed the bulge from the disc and then
Ah,
resealed my back up so it had to heal. And you can't
ouch.
split those seams that they have in your back. I got an incision in my back like that. But like afterwards, I felt like a brand new man. Like
mm-hmm.
Nice.
I
I've
was
had
I
sciatica
was able
before
to be a
too.
better husband because I was able to do more
Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
be in pain with the numbness down my left leg and my toes tingling all the time because it felt like
Yeah.
my left leg was asleep all the time.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
I felt
But
like I
let
the
me
had a
right
ask y'all a
shot in the
person
question.
butt.
allow you to be able to do that though, so it's not
Let,
dead, in my opinion.
let, let me ask y'all a question. Why do you think so? 70% of the divorces are initiated by women, right? So, why do y'all think that the divorces are initiated by women? I mean, I have my theory, but I'd like to first kick it to the ladies. Why do y'all think 70% of the divorces are initiated by women over men? What do y'all think?
I think that it depends on the reason for the divorce, which I think a lot of divorces. Yes, loaded
Well, just give me
question.
a general answer. General, be
Okay,
general. What do you think generally? Why?
I think that 70% of divorces are initiated by women because there's a high infidelity rate among men,
It's not
and
70%.
so
It's not 70%. The
what is
infidelity
it
rate, I'm
like
saying.
90?
That many men ain't cheating. That's kill that narrative before it starts. It ain't always men cheating. But go ahead. I'm gonna let you cook. Go
Well,
ahead.
I'm just saying. I mean that I don't know for 100%
No, I
sure,
hear you.
Sure.
but
I hear you.
I feel like perhaps maybe one of the reasons why so many women are filing for divorce is either, for me, I think it's two reasons. It's either fidelity or it's financial, and because I think that a lot of women, unfortunately, women who don't know themselves very well, who are immature, who are not fully ready for marriage. They go into it with these unrealistic financial expectations. I mean, fidelity is one thing. I mean, that's kind of cut and dry. You cheat, you cheat, you don't, you don't. But financial reasons come from a lot of things. Either the man could be irresponsible, or he could be making a lot of money, but not making enough money for her, or she's got these unrealistic expectations about what she thinks that her husband is supposed to provide while she is not being a significant contributor financially to the situation. Or, she may have some unrealistic expectations about marriage in general, to where she feels like, well, I should be able to stay home and chill, and you take care of every single bill, which in this day and age, I think it's a little bit unrealistic to expect, unless the man is very, very well paid. It's unrealistic to expect one person to be the sole breadwinner and take
Right.
care of all the things. And
Yeah.
as a woman, I think if you go into a marriage thinking that, oh, he's my husband, so he's supposed to provide everything, and then whatever I make is for me to spend on whatever I want, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
You know who fuels that? The single women friend of the married woman fuels that mentality.
Right.
Women keep other women single. Let's just be
If you don't have
clear.
good friends, if you don't have good friends, I'm definitely not that friend, because I will be the one to counsel
I'm
you
just
in the
saying
opposite.
it
You're
happens.
not being realistic there.
There's
Yeah,
always
I mean, I agree. I agree.
there's always
I
a
agree.
single friend buzzing around with
The,
some bad
the single
advice.
With some
girl,
bad
look, you don't
bad
need
advice.
him. Like he ain't.
Buzzing
You
around
know
like
what I
a
mean?
bee.
Like that's that friend
You're right
who
about that.
that's always encouraging you to leave your relationship. Like that. That's the friend to watch. You know what I mean? Like really.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
With
Yes. Yes.
Well, 70% is a high number. I have my theory.
Real
Okay.
quick, if I could add something, I just thought about now. I believe I had heard this at some point, that one of the reasons why women typically file for divorce first is because the men just don't want to. They don't feel like doing it, like going through that process. They're like, oh, okay, I got to call a lawyer.
No,
I gotta do all this. I gotta file all this paperwork.
no,
Men tend to procrastinate on those things a little bit more than women. So
twin, you are 1,000% right. Because I was definitely gonna say that. It's like there's other reasons, but logistically, like we just don't. The only way I think a man is gonna be proactive about it is if he got another woman he wants to marry waiting, and he wants to be done with this one to go to that one. But typically, man,
I
logistically, we don't. You know what I'm saying? We're not proactive. But I'm gonna let you cook B. That's just the shallow part. But I think also
yeah.
too, as men, and I said this before, that we will tend to stay in something that's a little dysfunctional longer than I think than women. I think women are definitive about making a decision to end the relationship versus men. I think that goes even in just quote unquote non-marriages, even relationships. Men don't typically be like, unless they got another woman waiting. He typically is not like, I think we need to sit down, we need to talk. When anytime you hear we need to talk, that's usually coming from a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And that final talk is usually initiated by a woman. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's part of it. And obviously, there's other reasons, but I'm gonna let B go ahead, y'all, B and Zell, because I know y'all are probably gonna say some of the things I was also gonna say in addition.
Uh, I think men. I think women don't understand men's ability to tough out tough situations. We will literally we'll swallow it. We'll deal with it. Pause. We'll deal with what we have to deal with. You know what I mean? Like we'll pull up after a long day of work and sit in the car for a minute just to get our mind right to go into the house to deal with what's in the house. But we'll deal with it. I think oftentimes women. I mentioned peaks and valleys earlier. I think oftentimes when things start to go bad and we hit a rough patch, women are quick to bail, versus men will, in a lot of situations, tough through it. And I think a lot of that comes from encouragement from outside sources. I think other women, this is my personal opinion, I think other women can encourage or sway certain women from their relationship and their foundation. So listen to friends is what I'm saying. And friends will say, "Hey, this is happening. You don't need him. Leave him." Or you know what I mean. it's just I think it's a lot of outside factors. I think that contribute to that. But as men, we can tough through some stuff. We'll deal with some stuff, but we just not going up and leave unless it's something really extenuating happening.
Right.
We'll deal with it. But I just don't think women are as willing to fight through the. And I'm not saying women don't. There's to Gina's point, there are women who tolerate all kind of, infidelity, and I gave this man chance after chance after chance before leaving. I'm not saying that's okay, but there are women who do it. So women do have a tolerance, but I'm just saying that on overall, I think women are more likely to bail and jump ship when things go bad. If you actually look at the rate of not just straight marriages, look at gay marriages and then lesbian marriages. The lesbian marriages are high too, and the gay marriages are low. Lesbian marriages are not they're not divorcing because of male infidelity. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just that. It's women who say, hey, I need to get out of this situation for whatever their reason are. That's why I'm saying the infidelity thing happens, but not at 70%. It's not
No,
always
B,
just those
you're
things.
you're and Zell, I'm going to cut you. I'm going to say this one thing on B's point.
No, go ahead.
That is such a great point because I think I'm not blaming all women. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that women have changed, and I was going to say that, but I'm glad you said it, B, because I knew you were going to lay it out. I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
The thing is that emotionally, and again, I'm not saying all women. I think emotionally, a lot of women are not built to deal in marriage the way they used to be because you're not always going to be happy. That's one of the biggest things. I forgot the saying, but
Along with the
and
perception of options. You think you have more options out there.
well, oh man, that's a whole man. I'm not gonna go on and on. That's another one. Don't get me started. But that
It's
one.
the combination
I
of
think
those.
I think we
But
got to
wait,
look at the generation that you're talking about.
no, you're right.
Because
You're right.
our generation
I'm not saying all, but I am
is a
saying that
different generation.
the idea.
We come from the generation of sticking it out, come hell or high water. We
Not
gonna
if
be
you Tia
miserable to
Mowry.
death, huh?
Not if you Tia Mowry. Didn't she divorce Corey because she
Right.
wanted to go find happiness? She wanted. She did. You see what I'm
Well,
saying? Like, it's happening in people.
CB,
Hmm?
that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. See, you're absolutely right. So I'm gonna say these two things, and I'm gonna step back. One is that the idea of I'm not going to be happy all the time or being okay with the fact that I won't be happy all the time is hard for the new age woman to deal with.
Yeah.
That's one. Very hard for them. And B, to your point, men can deal with being quote unquote unhappy, I think, a little longer than a woman can be quote unquote unhappy. It's not that the man did anything, it's just that you're not always going to be
Not
happy
gonna
in
be on
your
the same page all
relationship.
the
It's
time,
just
right?
the way it
Yep.
is. So that's one. Two, I think that the idea of options, that's a whole nother topic, but I do think that there is an idea. I mean, I'm going to just lay this out here and I'm going to step back. So you have people like, I don't even want to do this, but Vivica Fox and Lisa Ray, all these older women. Look, I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with being single, but this idea that you have all these same options at 30 that you have at 60, oh my God.
Right.
These women nowadays, they really believe it. And I'm like, dude, nowhere in the world does that make sense. Even men know that, oh, okay, I don't have all the same options that I had at one point.
Yep.
But particularly as a woman, like, you're 60. You need to just find a person, man. Stop this. I got all these options, and it's not gonna happen, bro. Like,
And you just need
it's
to
not
find
gonna
somebody
happen.
going sit down
There's
somewhere.
somebody that wants you, but you talking about, Vivica was like, oh, I'm taking applications for partners. Like, you are way past that stage. So I don't want to go on and on about that, but that mentality is pervasive in younger women or women in general, that I got all these options and I can leave whoever I'm with, and I'm going to find somebody, but you'll always
That's for
find
sure.
another person to give you some attention.
Right.
But the difference between someone who give you some attention or will have sex with you is a far distance from a man who wants to marry you,
Right.
be with you,
Right.
and listen to all your stuff and deal with all your emotions and all of that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I digress.
All right, here's what I have to share. So, just going back to like our grandparents' generation, right? So they stayed together not only for financial reasons. Sometimes, you know, they needed to get out of the house. Like, I'm leaving from here with mom and them, and I'm gonna go be with this man. Yeah, we got kids, and sometimes women felt like I can't leave. I got 4, 5 kids. Who gonna take me? What I'm gonna do with all these kids, right? But that's how they felt, even though it was more difficult with you having a bunch of kids back in the day. Now, women like, bye. I'm independent. All my women who independent, like they don't care. They're like, I'll be by myself. So yeah, their patience is a lot shorter now than it was back then. And with women's rights, women, look, we got a woman running for president, right? Hillary ran for president. Women are like, look, Mexico got a female president now, right?
Yeah.
So it's like real talk. Women have more options. They have the independence of saying, I don't need a man. If I'm not happy, I'm out. Now, sometimes is it premature? Maybe. We don't know their situation, but I know a lot of relationships do break up because of financial reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
It could be unrealistic. It could be, you're not pulling your part. You make it, like we need to be evenly yoked. She can't be going to work all day and him sitting at home playing video games in his drawers.
Right.
What are we doing here?
Yeah.
But is 70% of women doing it because of that reason? Probably not. Is infidelity, maybe some of the reasons? Probably so. Why are men not doing it? In the Bible, Jesus was asked, is divorce okay? Jesus said, really, the wife that you marry is your wife. Like, if you take another wife, your first wife is still your wife in the eyes of God, because you made a promise that that's your wife. However, he said that because of men's hearts being so harsh, it was okay to divorce your wife for infidelity on her part. So sometimes a man not going to leave his woman unless he feel like she's smashing it in his face that she unfaithful to him. What's that old saying? Mama's baby, daddy's baby, right? So the baby come home, you like, oh, that's our baby. And his mama like, you better get a paternity test. It might not be yours. You won't worry. But men, again, B, to your point, Sue, to your point, men are like,
right. Yeah, it's got to be extreme.
it's
got to be really
extreme for a man to say, look, I don't want to. And again, it could be somebody else in his ear like, yo, let me get rid of this woman so I get this other woman. But
yeah.
Well, let me tell you another reason.
I told my wife, I said, if you get kidnapped by aliens, you get abducted by aliens, I'm not doing it again. If you decide to walk the earth like Kane from Kung Fu and just walk the earth and get into adventures, I'm not doing it again. I'm not doing it again. If she decides to pack up all her belongings and leave, or pack up all my belongings and leave them on the porch and change the locks on the door, I'm not doing it again.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm just not. It is a lot of compromise. It is a lot of let's do this together. Let's build together. I'm too old to do it again. Not.
Well, another reason why men don't file for divorce as much as women, and you, I know you're not going to like this answer, but this is the truth. It's a fact. Look it up. More men will just try to have her killed because it's cheaper.
I didn't see that one coming.
Wait. I didn't know you were going there.
Just look it up.
I didn't know she was going there either.
Flag on the play. Flag on the play. What's funny is, look, what's really funny is, I played, okay, so I'm an actor as well, right? So I was in an episode of Fatal Attraction that comes on TV1.
Wow.
And I played a character that had my wife killed because she was looking to divorce him. And he was like, if she leave me and she take all of this stuff, I can't live this lifestyle by myself. But if I have
Right.
her killed, I can collect insurance and all these other benefits, and I will be in a better place. And he had his wife killed, and now he's in prison for life. And they had
Oh
two
my
young
god.
kids, and
I'm
they
looking
have
at
a
Wasn't
son.
that one where she had like the beauty salon, or he was cutting hair at the house or something like that, or he was trying to be a barber?
And unfortunately, these are all true stories. So I played a DJ in Atlanta. He worked at a club called Onyx, and he had his wife killed. Her name was Tiffany. She was an airline flight attendant, or
I
maybe she
think I
wasn't a
saw that
flight
one.
attendant, but she worked for the airline. And he had his wife killed. It's episode 1302. So
I
Fatal
might pull
Attraction,
that up.
episode 1302.
Listen. I watch a lot
There is some
of
truth to that,
like
but
ID channels. I see a lot more stories
Mhm.
about, and I have to do the numbers. I have to do the research on the numbers, but I see a lot more stories where it's the other way, where women are trying to have their husband
That's
killed.
what I see
It's
too.
women do
That's what
have
I
their
see
I've
too.
husbands
seen
killed.
way more stories about men who have tried to have their women killed, or the woman died and the man was arrested because they realized he pushed her down them stairs, or
Well,
Yeah, I mean, I've
yeah,
hired
seen a
so
lot
and
on both sides.
so.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
true.
yeah.
That's
You know what
true.
I'm saying? Some of the highest profile cases
Yeah, a
are
lot of
men
those
who killed
cases
their wives or hired a hitman.
Okay,
where
that's
the
fine.
wife is
There's been
missing.
There's Drew
lots and
Peterson.
lots
I
of
get it.
stories of
Yeah,
men
I get it.
who are on death row who've
that's
been
true.
executed because they killed their wives.
That's true.
You
Yeah,
know,
I do
so
see a
I
lot where
believe
the
that men are more financially motivated because it's going to be hiring an attorney is expensive. 9 times out of 10, you go to family court. We're still living in a day where family courts tend to lean more towards the women as far as custody, child support,
very true.
um, spousal support,
Yeah.
alimony, all of that stuff. So men figure, well, what do they say? It's cheaper to kill, cheaper to
Keep it a
keep her,
keeper.
Keeper to
Cheaper to
kill.
keep her. That's what I thought. Cheaper to
cheaper
kill.
to
Keep it a
keep her.
killer. It is not a blues song that says it's cheaper to kill her.
Not how
Cheaper
that
to
I,
kill.
goes.
I,
Cheaper to kill him.
I'm saying though, that's one of the reasons why. Because y'all, well, if you sum it up, one of the reasons why women file for divorce more than men, because men are lazy. They figure, well, either I just gonna have to knock her off. Let me push her over. Hey, pick a Dateline episode. I've seen so many episodes where the guy
Yeah,
pushed her over a cliff.
that's true. I
Oops, she
have seen that
fell.
too. Yeah,
I don't
She
know if it's the
fell.
laziness though. I think
or the
men
woman is
in
missing.
general will grit their teeth and just tough it out and kind of deal with that rocky patch a lot more and a lot longer than some women
Until they
are.
push her up under a Jeep
Well,
and said,
You know
"Oh,
what
she
though?
went
but
over
that's the
there to
thing.
try to
What
change the
look
tire,
We got
and
to
the Jeep
also
fell down on her."
the
look
the
at it from the
the
sense of like, why are the
I'm
divorce
saying,
rates in lesbian marriages so high? There's no men involved. That
we're not talking
man,
about that.
you know,
We're not talking about that.
it's
We're not
still
talking about that.
marriage. It's
That ain't what we're talking about.
like,
That ain't what we're talking about. We're
said the
talking
woman
about
is
men and women.
the woman of the common denominator.
I'm saying,
No, but you know what
it's
though?
still
I think
We ain't talking about. We ain't
I
talking about
think
that.
but
Stay
you
on
know
task,
what?
man.
So the reason why women file more than men, in my opinion, is that if men are in a bad marriage, they're more likely they'll just like if they're in a really bad marriage they just don't want to be in. They'll probably just have another woman versus with women. I
See,
think if a woman finds another man that she really likes, I'm not saying there aren't women that don't cheat long term and have relationships, but men can have long term side relationships. Women, if they find somebody they really like,
and why do they do that?
well, no, I'm saying that the emotions are different.
But,
So women,
but
let
why
me
do they do
finish.
that?
Women, well, I'm telling you, women, if they decide that they find somebody else that they really are into and that they like start to love or feel, because women are gonna fall in love faster if they have somebody they're seeing consistently. They're gonna be like, you know what? I'm getting a divorce. I'm gonna be with this guy because I love this guy. Now the man, he gotta
You have
really
two
love
families.
that other woman
You
to
have two
leave.
families.
They'll have two families. Men, because men are just built different.
Why?
Because we're built different.
Why?
Because they're built
what do you mean
different.
why? We
What you
have the
want to hear?
capacity to love.
We have the
We have big
capacity
Bullshit.
to.
hearts.
I'm gonna call bullshit on that one. Why? Because it is cheaper.
To
Y'all
have
will
two
stay in a
families,
bad
it's
marriage
cheaper.
longer and just have somebody on the side because you're lazy and you don't want to give up your finances. It's cheaper to just take this chick out to eat, take the side chick out to eat, buy her some flowers, and get a hotel room, and then go home and be miserable. Why? Because you don't want to give up half of your assets to this woman that you've spent the last 25 years with. Either that or
I
she
think you're
got to
right.
die. I'm just saying.
I
Why
think
I
you're
gotta
right.
come
Why?
to
It's
death all the
financial.
time? Why somebody
Guys, it's
gotta die?
financial. It, she ain't gotta die. She ain't gotta die, but you're not gonna divorce her. That's the reason why men don't file as often. It is financial because y'all are lazy
Well,
and you don't want to give up your money, or it's cheaper. You're gonna do whatever's cheaper.
Well, okay, I'm going to rephrase it. Men aren't lazy. It's just that men. Here's the thing.
I don't mean lazy in
Men.
general. I
No, no,
don't
no. I
mean
know.
lazy in general.
I'm saying that men are we're very simple. So we don't like complicated, annoying situations.
right.
So we're just like, you know what? It'll just be easier for my life. Like I need to go to work, make money, and do my thing and this and that. I want to have a simple, I don't feel like arguing with this woman. I don't feel like having a divorce attorney. I just want to have a simple
Yeah.
life. So you know what? You be unhappy over there. It's cool. And we'll stay in this little dysfunctional thing. But I'm happy with this other woman. I'm not saying that that's me. I'm just saying that that is some men are just like, men like simplicity. Women are more like, okay, no. I,
Because it's
Because
cheaper.
I
happiness is not
wouldn't
a consistent
personally, but I
thing.
understand.
Happiness is never going to be just a flat line thing. Happiness is going to go in waves, and you're gonna have to stay through points where you're not happy to get back to the happiness. That's just how relationships are going to work. You can't just bounce the minute you're unhappy. You know what I mean? Like, and
Well, I
happiness
think
should not be. I shouldn't be looking to my woman for my happiness. Something is in me
right,
that I need to figure out. You know what I mean? So yeah,
right,
so staying
and
ain't
I think
necessarily
that.
say what?
No, sorry, B. Go ahead.
No,
My bad.
but I'm just saying happiness is like something that you have to find, and you can't just leave when it's not there. People are going to deal with that. That's just part of life. But I think people who leave when just because they're not happy, you're pretty much running. But what are you running from? Because you're not gonna find what you're looking for until you look inside. You know what I mean? You have to look inside at yourself. But what do I know?
Well,
I'm single, never been married, so I don't know that.
no, you know what though. But here's the thing, though. We
I
all
mean,
been
you
in
make a valid
relationships, so
point, though. B. I mean, that's
I don't think you have to be legally married
Yeah, no, I'm
to
good.
learn all these lessons. I do think being legally married, there are certain points. Of course, they'll hit on a lot of them, and being legally married for me again, also too, it does hit on the point of it's not quite as easy to just be like I'm out,
Right,
because that's one of the things that even emotionally, if you just want to leave, it's you can't just leave. I mean, if you have a house together and car together and children together and
yeah,
whatever else, finances together, I mean, you can leave, but something's gonna you have to come up with some type of decree to decide what's gonna happen.
right,
So I think that's a big part of it. But I do think that just going back to men can split. I think men are a little better at splitting their heart or splitting their emotions more than a woman can. So I think that a woman, women can, but they don't really want to be splitting their heart between multiple men. You know what I'm saying? I'm obviously women can have sex with multiple men. There's plenty of what they call 304s out there, right? But um, you know the heart. I don't think women can consistently split their heart for a long time between two men. It's very difficult, I think, for a woman to do that. So a woman is going to more definitively say, okay, I need to end this relationship, you know. But without a real incentive there has to be some incentive. And I think just to B's point, you're not always going to be happy. So I think now what we do have is we do have younger people who are like, well, what's my incentive? Why would I do it? And I think that unfortunately you have to look at marriage a little differently because everybody's looking at, well, what am I going to get out of this thing? What am I going to get? And because everybody's saying you need to show me an incentive, because that's not what marriage is an incentive. People are like, well, I ain't getting the incentive, or maybe you gave me an incentive, but now I don't have an incentive. I'm out. You know what I'm saying? So, um, and I think that it's a greater societal thing. Um, now let me ask y'all this. So here's the question: do y'all want your children to get married? Do you feel like that's something that you want for your children, or you feel like, well, one way or another, it's whatever they want?
I'm going to say yes because at this age, my thoughts and ideas and feelings about marriage are much different than they were obviously 25 years ago when I was in my early 20s. Um, at this stage of the game, when I think about marriage, I don't think about it just as a transaction, but I think of it as a life partnership. And being able to do life with somebody, the right person, is a great privilege and a great benefit. As you start to enter middle age and older age, it is extraordinarily difficult to do that alone. As you start to deal with health issues or deaths of parents, of siblings, children, whatever the situation is, having to go through life without someone to do that with, to talk to be with, is a very lonely situation. This is one of the reasons why we're starting to see more middle-aged and elder people seeking that counseling because again, loneliness is at an all-time high. And so I would want my children to have a good partner to do life with in a healthy and productive way. Now, this is the caveat to that is that I would prefer that they spent their 20s at the very least doing them. Live your life, do the things that you want to do, finish school. I want to travel. There's because those are a lot of things that I did when I was in my 20s and 30s. I enjoyed myself. I traveled. I bought my own house. I went overseas. I went to school. I got my master's degree. I did all of these things that I am very glad that I did before I had any kind of other people to worry about. I was able to do these things on my own. And there's a huge benefit to being able to have that. So I would want them to live their lives and spend their 20s, maybe part of their 30s, living their own life. But and hopefully by then they will have a much greater understanding and a lot more wisdom than I had at that age to be able to figure out who you are, figure out who you are as a person. Before you get married. I think one or both of you, be Zell touched on this about you need to know who you are as a person before you can really enter into a quality partnership. Also, I think you even mentioned it about having to take on all of somebody's emotional baggage and try to be their everything. That's impossible. That's unrealistic, and it's unfair.
Right.
So I would encourage them to figure out who they were, what they wanted, what they could bring to the situation, and understand truly who you are and what you want so that you'd be able to attract the right person and be able
Right.
to do life with them, you
Hmm.
know? Um,
Hmm.
yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much it.
Oh yeah. 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 It sure is. Hmm. 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 Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I feel that.
Wouldn't
I
have it
feel
no other
that.
way.
I don't want nobody big head son touching my daughter. No, no. No, your damn hands off my child. Uh, no,
I feel you, B.
I
I
would
feel you.
love that for her if that's what she wants to do. I don't think every woman wants necessarily marriage. But if that's what she wants and she finds the right partner, then yeah, I would love that for her. That'd be awesome. So, yeah,
I definitely echo those same sentiments. Like, I would like for my children to find someone that they're evenly and equally yoked with to build a life and a family of their own together. I
right.
would love to see that. But again, the caveat is with the right person,
With the right person,
right?
it's very important.
So if it takes you longer to find the right person, okay, it takes you longer to find the right person. Don't just get married just to get married, because I remember when I was dating, I remember women saying, I want to get engaged because that shows the world that somebody wants me. And I'm like, that's not a good reason.
Right.
That's that's not a good reason. I'm not interested in that, because
Yeah.
some women would tell you, I want to get married. And you're like, hey, this is our first date. But
Mm-hmm. Like
I'm
I don't
out.
even know your last name yet. You talking about marriage?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I'm out. Like, you don't even, we didn't even talk about what you want for dinner
right.
tonight. You talk about, okay, I'm out. So I don't want that for my sons, and I don't want my daughters to be with somebody that's like, I want to control a woman. I'm the head of the Bible says I'm the head of the house, so whatever I say goes. Bark, 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 barking orders at her. Nah.
Hmm.
Be with the right person. A person is going to build you up. A
Build
person is
you
going
up.
to grow with you.
And a
A
person
person
who's
is going
strong
to,
where you're weak. That's very
yeah,
important. Like we were talking about
absolutely.
earlier, like financial things, like about guys who are not responsible with money. Well, those guys should be marrying people who are responsible with money, and a good leader knows when to delegate. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm not great with money. You take care of the finances. You know what I mean? Like, that's
Mhm.
how you handle a problem like that versus, but
Absolutely.
so I would want my child to find somebody who, like Zell said, who's evenly yoked. If that's, you know what I mean? You find somebody who's strong where you're weak because,
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
nobody's perfect. So you got to find that balance in your partner.
Yeah. I think
That
it's a lonely world to live all alone. It's lonely.
Yeah.
If you're always alone, I'm always by myself. It's a lonely place to be in. Like, if you could find somebody that's the right person for you,
Yeah.
and marriage is in the cards for you, if you feel like, hey, this is a person I intend and I would like to spend the rest of my life with, let me walk you down the aisle. Let me walk my daughters down the aisle.
Yeah.
Let me be there with my sons and be like, good job, son. Like,
yeah,
that's a keeper right there. But if it's the
yeah.
wrong person, it's like, I mean, if you tell your child you don't like that person, sometimes that makes them attracted to them more,
Yeah.
right? So
Right,
so you really got to be careful on how
right.
you talk to them about who they're with, and that person will expose themselves eventually if they're the
Right,
wrong person for your
I
child.
right,
feel
And
like if
hopefully
right.
your
my
child
daughter
will
wants to
grow
get
up the right
married,
way.
if my daughter wants to get married, like the dude gonna have to get in the boxing ring with me, put some gloves on, and if you can knock me out, sir, you can marry my daughter. There you go. But if I win,
And then what?
it's
He's
game over for you. You can't
got to kick
protect her. If
rocks.
I win, that means you can't protect her. You can't. You don't deserve to marry her. So there it is.
Okay, well, what if he's like 5'7"?
It's not my
You're like
problem.
6'8".
It's not my problem.
There's no,
Hey, listen. How tall is
What? Who Terry? My
I
daughter?
can't even think of his name. Huh?
Who? My daughter? You mean? Or
No, I'm stuck talking about the I know I can't think of the boxer.
who? Floyd Mayweather?
Mayweather.
Yeah,
Yeah, how tall is Mayweather? Mayweather's short,
he's short.
but
But he also fighting people in his weight class.
True.
that's
True.
true. That's true.
he trains.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
trains.
Yeah. I'm just
You
saying.
know.
Well, look,
So
my point is that on a good day, he probably would knock B out. That's what I'm saying. So he could be
You gotta have a little
small.
faith in me, bro. He might not knock. He ain't gonna knock me
Nah,
out.
well, this here's the thing.
He
If
might win on the scorecards. He ain't gonna knock me out. Like
that's true, he probably ain't gonna knock
you
you
know
out.
what I
That's
mean?
true.
Like
That's true.
you just
you
have
gonna
to lay it on
outbox
your
me, but
back
you're
for
not
a
gonna put
while.
me on the canvas. So
That's true. That's
He
true.
gonna
Yeah,
beat
he
you on
probably
point.
yeah,
technically
you gonna
win.
beat
Yeah,
me on
that's true.
points. I give you that, but yeah, you ain't gonna win the power game.
That's true. Well,
But
I would say that I want the same thing for my kids too, but I echo everybody's point is that um what I hope is that they unidealize what marriage is.
yeah,
Because at the end of the day, I think what's happened is that we're just people are. I think under all this, I think people are really scared to trust other people. There's so much distrust. I mean, especially in my opinion, in the black community, there's so much distrust. Nobody trusts nobody no
I
more. You
agree.
know what I'm saying?
Where I'm at
Men
right
and
now,
women.
so I agree.
You know what I'm saying? Like, just don't trust
Yeah.
nobody. And it's trust is not an easy thing. I think trust is
No,
probably the hardest thing for most people to really wrap
because
their
once it's
mind
been
around
broken, it's so hard to
consistently.
regain, and especially if you've been through a really bad situation, it
Yeah.
is very difficult to even want to
Yeah.
trust again
Well, you know
because
what? You have people who've gone through stuff, but you also have stuff you're bringing in. So, we have things that we've seen, maybe our parents, we have friends, family. Even when you think about even the failure of other relationships, sometimes
Right.
you bring that in because you just it's in the back of your mind like, well, that failed and they were married and you know what I'm saying? So it's something that's tough for people. So I think that the trust part is difficult, but again, also all of y'all said it. It's about also finding the right people, but the nuance of finding the right person also is to be able to be honest with yourself as to who might be good for you, um, who might be good for you. You know what I'm saying? Because what you want,
you know what, Twin, if I
mhm,
could interject real
yeah,
quick, is
mhm,
that I think that before you can really find the right person, you have to know if you're the right person. And I think so
mhm,
many people go into situations
Yes.
not fully knowing who they are and what they want. And I'm only saying that from personal experience. When I compare myself to who I was as recent as 2 years ago to who I am now, the
yeah,
level of wisdom and self awareness and maturity that I have now is much different than I had before. I'm not the same person.
sure,
And if I went into relationships, the person that I am now would have much greater success
yeah,
than the person I was, 5, 10 years ago. Because at this point, I've reached a certain level of self actualization where
right.
I understand who I am and what I really need and what is truly important to me. And I've gotten past all the superficial bullshit, you
Well,
know?
let me say one thing to that at that point, right? So I think that is so important and that's true. But what I also think to add to that is that I think if people want to get married, they also have to find a way to get married and be able to stay together through those things you're talking about. I'm not saying you specifically, but what I'm saying is that the growth, because sometimes as adults, we're always evolving. Like even my speaking for myself,
Absolutely.
who I was 10 years ago, some of the
Mhm.
ideals I even had about a spouse and even and again I talk about how women think men should be all these things for them and how they should be responsible for their emotions, but even as a man, I quite honestly I had to grow and realize, you know what, I had certain ideals. Women aren't just idealistic, men are idealistic too,
Hmm.
maybe differently, but I was idealistic about certain things about what how my wife should be, what she should do, how she should carry herself in this situation, that and I had to understand that you have to strip it down and say you're married to another human being, you're married to
Mhm.
another person. You know what I'm saying? And you have to, sometimes it's hard to step back and say, you know what, I'm with a person, I'm not with my wife necessarily. I mean, I'm with my wife, but you know what I'm
You're not with
saying,
the
but
character you
my
created
wife
in your
is,
own head.
yeah, I gotta say, you know what, who is this other person?
Yeah.
So I think
Mhm.
that of course you have situations where it might not be the right time, but my point is people have to also be able to say, you know what, I'm not a finished product yet and be able to still be married. And I think
Well,
nowadays the problem is,
absolutely,
you know what I'm saying? No,
absolutely.
I'm not taking nothing away from what you said. I'm just saying
No,
that people have to
I
be able to,
totally agree with you, but I just feel that at your starting point should be where you have a very steady grasp on who you are and what you truly need, so
I agree
that
with that.
in the process of finding and attracting that partner, you're not going into it looking at this persona. That you are looking at the person, who they really are, and making realistic judgments about, you know what, this is not something I'm going to be able to work with. This is not going to work with my personality and my needs. Also, with the understanding that we are going to continue to grow, because growth is a continuous process.
Right.
And we both have to be firm about who we are so that we know how to grow together
Right.
appropriately.
Right.
You
Yeah, I
know,
agree.
and I guess that's more
Yeah,
my
yeah.
point.
No,
Because I
I
think when
agree a
people
thousand
go into
percent.
relationships, they have no idea who they are, what they want. Then once they go into it with all these unrealistic ideas and expectations, and then they realize, you know what, I don't even really like this person. You know, I like who I thought they were. I was
I,
in
I
love with
um
who I thought they
I
should
posted a
be.
video the
You
other
know,
day actually on my Instagram, and it was a guy. His quote was something to the effect of, "You're either going to marry a teammate or you're going to marry an opponent, and you better figure out which one you got." Like,
Mm,
because
mm,
that's
mm,
really what it is. You know what I mean? Like, if
mm-hmm,
that person's not
mm-hmm.
there to help you, that's not going to be it's going to be a problem. So, yeah,
That's
I think you
you know
guys are
what
all
I
making very
like
valid
that.
points. Hmm?
No, I like that
I
because
like that.
I think at the bare base of it, you just have to have somebody who isn't against you. If you have somebody who's very much against you, you're gonna have conflict. But there's a difference between having conflict and somebody who really ain't for you,
Yeah,
who really kind of
Right.
against you. You know what I'm saying? But you do
Mm-hmm.
have to have
Yeah.
some room to be able to grow within your expectations. Because I think that honestly, I think that if you the other thing too is that a lot of marriages they don't give each other time. You know what I'm saying? Because honestly, like even for Faith would tell you if she was on here, like first couple years are kind of like can be tough. You know what I'm saying? Because you really and everybody's different. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just if you're like getting to know each other in that time. You know what I'm saying? Like there's some people who have been dating a long time. They've gotten to know each other, so maybe their first years after actually tying the knot could be different. We were getting to know each other in the first couple of years, so those times could be tough. And at certain times of conflict, have we just gotten divorced, then we would have missed out on a lot of growth. You know what I'm saying? We would have missed out on a lot of things. And a lot of people do get divorced after like 2 years is really no time at all. Like you really don't know nothing in 2 years. You really don't even learn, in my opinion. Everybody's different, but you really don't learn anything maybe for like 5 years.
yeah.
You really start to learn. You know what I'm saying? And that's a decent amount of time. But, keep in mind, we had kids immediately too. So we also had a very strong incentive on top of the vows we took to have a family unit.
To
But
make it
imagine
work.
if we're two people with no kids and we're like, okay, well, you know what? I'm still fly. I ain't got no kids with her. She's like, I'm still fly. I ain't got no kids. I got options. And we was like, yo, 2 years, 2.5 years, man, I'm out of here. And imagine that you don't really get to see what the real deal is. So I think that my point is that people got to give each other time. And um, what I also noticed, I was looking at some statistics. I mean, black people, we have the highest divorce rates in America. Um, and it could be for a number of reasons, but I think that a lot of it is just not putting in the time. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that getting a divorce ain't a big deal no more. It's like what? So what? Get
Right,
divorced.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
You
It's
know,
like
Right.
I
no
can't
big deal.
say what was interesting. My wife and I dated for 5 years before we got married. And I was honest with her. I told her straight up, I was like, I have a fear of marriage because I've seen marriages fail. And she was transparent. She said, me too. Right. So we both had a healthy fear of marriage. And we went to our marital counseling sharing that. And he was like, okay, great. That's good because it's not something that you should take lightly. Right. And he expressed to us and let us know in no uncertain terms, there used to be the term of he completes me or she completes me. He was like, that's dead. He was like, here's the thing. you're a whole person before you even met her. She's a whole person before she even met you, right? So you both
Mm-hmm.
are whole individual people. Now you choose to be together. You choose to be one. Two become one, right? So when people look at us, my hope is that they love us both as one, not individually. Just love us because we're one, right?
Mm-hmm.
You combine these finances, you combine these her family is my family. My family is her family. I'll tell her, I'll be like, look at your cousin. Really, biologically is my cousin, but I'm like, that's your cousin. And vice versa. She'd be like, look at your cousin, right? So like
Right.
when the kids are, it's just family, right? It's
Yeah.
and I am a product of like within my marriage at least, it's a blended family. So my wife had 2 kids before we got together. I had one. We brought 3 together, and then we have one together. But guess what? It's one family. Like
Right.
there is no steps. There is no. We one family, right? I
Mm-hmm.
get along with her previous dads of her children. She gets along with my. I don't want to say baby mama, but you know what I'm saying,
Right.
right? The
I
mother of
heard you.
my daughter, right? So, but we're one family, right? We can have holidays together. We can have barbecues together. Like, and then our son that we have together is just looking at it like it's normal, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't see it as
That's
anything
healthy.
different
Right.
because you
Mm-hmm.
love as one. It's like, it's just, we're one big family. It's a blended
Mm-hmm.
family, but it's one big loving blended family. We not like the Brady Bunch or nothing, but for real, it's like, it's
Right.
just like, you didn't look at the Brady Bunch like those are his kids, those are her kids. You was like,
Right.
it's the Brady Bunch. They are family.
Right.
Like, that's what it
Right.
is. And that's how I wanted, and we wanted to raise our children. It's one family. It is what it is. And I
Yeah.
think, like, if I could, like, the ladies asked about how can a man love, like, have 2 families, right? When I watched the movie Fences with Denzel Washington and Viola Davis, and he
Uh-huh.
was like, I got a baby coming, right? She like, you got a baby coming. And he expressed how unhappy he was. And she like, me too. But I ain't go out there and had no baby, right? Why'd he do it? He ain't had no good reason, other than she makes me happy. Like when I see her, she brings me joy. When I come home to you, we arguing all the time, right? Could he
Right.
have walked away from that relationship? He could have. But to the ladies' point, sometimes men are lazy. They just like, And to the fellas' points, they like, I can endure it. Like, I come on, I'm unhappy, give you the check. Here's my money. I only got a few dollars left over for lunch and for a couple of drinks and a shoot pool. And then I get paid again the next week. But in the meantime,
Keep it
between
going.
time, he got a whole nother family, right? And she said, bet, you got a baby, but you ain't got no wife no more. She
Mm.
ain't even divorced him, right? We go to the end of the movie and they mourning his
Oh,
path. And it's like, was he an ideal father? Nah. Was he an ideal husband? Nah. But did she leave him? No. Did he leave her? No.
no.
It was
That's not a
dysfunctional.
healthy situation. I
It
mean,
was
that's not a healthy
it was very
situation. I
dysfunctional.
mean,
But it felt
it's
real.
extraordinarily dysfunctional. And I mean, who can stay in that? And I mean, I don't advocate staying in something dysfunctional like that. And I honestly think, I mean, this was a movie, obviously, but and I
Right.
think in real life, he probably would have just had her killed. I
What?
mean,
Oh my God.
What
We
what
back to
is
the
with
ID
you and
channel.
the murders? Like,
Too much
I
ID
watch
channel.
a lot of
Somebody
ID as
got
well, and
shot.
a lot of 48 hours. Okay,
Everybody can't afford a hitman now.
hey,
Come on now.
hey, real talk though.
you don't need a hitman. All
This
you need to do is all you need is a good stairwell.
everything this what
I'm
Bill
saying.
just described. More time, it happened in our grandparents' generation a lot, and they
It did.
stayed.
Hmm.
They stayed through
Mm-hmm.
all of that. So I think that's kind of. I think I forgot who said it before, but people are faster to leave now. But in those situations, yeah, those whereas a couple of generations ago, the women may have stayed. Like I'm gonna ride it out. These days,
Now,
they're not putting up with that. It's deuces
Oh hell
immediately.
no.
So
No. No.
yeah,
No.
it's a whole different
Nah.
world.
It's a different world. I mean,
especially
I do
deuces.
give women credit because I don't think a woman I don't think a woman should, because you know what? Again, it's always interesting when we look. It depends on how we look at situations, right? So, as a man, I might say, well, a woman should stick it out, and she shouldn't leave, and then I'll think about my daughter, and then my perspective changes. So
Right.
it all depends on what
Right.
perspective you're talking from. That you think of it differently. Because when you think about your spouse, you might say, "Well, I think she shouldn't leave if I cheated on her." Da, da, da."
Right.
And then I'm like, okay, what if it was your daughter?
You gotta put up with that
Oh,
shit. Get out of there right now.
yeah, she put a get. You know what I'm saying?
For real.
Hey, I'm gonna kill that dude too. You know what I'm saying? So the perspective changes, but I think that as far as the whole marriage thing, I think that we're going. It's interesting to see where things go as things go along. Like again, as a married person, I can't speak for Zell. I don't think that everybody should be married. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with that
No.
too. I'm not one of these people that thinks everybody should be married, but um I do think that young people. Well, I do think that the vision or the idea of marriage and the the marketing of marriage should be different, because I think it's gotten bad to the point where it's just showing people something that isn't what it is, you know what I'm saying? And it's got a bad rap. So I think that marriage isn't much different than any relationship. People are getting in long-term relationships too. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
that it's different. It's just it's not even different. It's just a relationship, but again, it's legal, it's spiritual to some. Um and that's what it come down to. But I think at the end of the day, um, if people are gonna form any type of nuclear families and not even just that, but also as an adult, be happy or be with somebody, we do have to try to eradicate some of the fears of it. And I think it's dope, Zell, that you and your wife immediately got counseling because I think a lot of people need counseling badly. We didn't get it. We thought about getting it, but I do think that we gave each other time as well. And, thank God we had children to keep us grounded too. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that, we were committed to or are committed to what we decided to, do.
Yeah.
So I think that until they change the marketing of marriage and change this whole thing about not needing anybody
Hmm.
and the whole thing about, oh, I have all of these options, because I think that's what's changed. Social media has told everybody that you have a million options waiting on you when you walk out of the door. um, until that changes,
And
it's
reality
probably
is,
just
you
gonna
do,
work.
depending on what you're looking for. If you have options, you'll get attention, like you said earlier. You get attention. You'll get people who want to smash, but are they going to be there when you have the back surgery? You know what I mean? Are they going to be there to bathe
Right,
you? Are they going to be that partner for you? And everybody ain't
right.
going to be built like that. They're not.
Yeah.
But
Your pool also gets more shallow as you get older. We talked about some of those cougars, right? But like if let's say you go out today, right, just to have a drink, you at a bar, you socializing, and you look at a young lady and she might be in her say mid-20s. She not looking at you probably the way you might be looking at her. You like, I'm 40. She ain't looking at you the same way. In your mind, you think she is.
the thing
She
is,
not.
you're right. The pool gets more shallow, but
She,
you still think you diving in the deep end. You're really in
you
3 feet
think
of
so,
water. You don't even realize it. Like, because what you just
right?
said is absolutely right. You're like, I can pull that. No, you can't, sir. You're way
Yeah.
past your prime. But you
And the
won't
same
know
for
that your
women.
pool
They
is
not.
shallow until you out there.
Come on.
You're in a
A
goddamn
woman that's
kiddie pool. You think
45,
you're an Olympic?
50 years old. Yeah, she 45, 50. That 20-year-old is not looking at her like that 25 or 27-year-old is not looking at her like he looking at another 25 or
Right,
27-year-old. He's like,
right.
man, she might be able to help me pay some bills.
And that's what I mean by
Just like
that
a
that
young
that
brother looking
false
at a dude, right?
perception of more options. Like you think you have more options when you really don't have what
You don't.
right.
Nope.
It's the 80-20. You're
Nope.
giving up your 80 to go find that 20 that you're looking for, and you're never gonna get that 80 again. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's what
You're not.
we deal with now. So
Well, no, I
Yeah.
agree. I think that's the whole thing of it's okay to think that, okay, I'm still desirable. People are going to want me. That's fine. But you don't want to have this false perception that you have tons of options as far as just anybody. There's going to be so many people out here, because what that does, it really does put you in a space where you're not in the right mindset to really find somebody who may be good for you too. So I think that, but you know what that is? I'll say it like this: it's humbling, and that's what everybody. I think you got to find a way to be confident about yourself and be humble
Mm-hmm.
and say, you know, okay,
and
I
realistic.
may not,
And
you know,
realistic.
everybody is not at my disposal.
Right.
Right.
And it's important to continue to date. So like to be married, to stay married, or even if you're in a long term or committed relationship, continue to date each other,
Yeah.
not other people, each other. Right.
Right.
I have a date night with my wife tomorrow. So I asked her about a
That's
month
what's
ago,
up.
like, hey, there's an art show coming up. Would you like to go to it? You know, she was like, yeah. I'm like, boom, lock it in your schedule. We got a date night. Like we're going out for a date. We'll grab something to eat. You gotta date your wife. You know, you gotta
No,
date your
you're right.
significant other, even if it's not your wife. If it's your boyfriend, date your boyfriend. Sometimes don't just be like, "Oh, I got him now. I'm gonna have my hair in curlers and a bonnet all day," and vice versa. The dude, line yourself up, look like something. You know, do a push up too. Sometimes, like look,
Yeah.
look like something. You know, watch what you eat and put that pork down. Put them ribs down. Like eat a salad every now and then.
Every now and then. Right.
Keep yourself marketable at least for her or for him. Like
Right.
Yeah.
don't just
Right.
let your I mean
Let you
things
touch
happen.
it.
Our bodies again they do change. She have a
Yeah.
baby, yeah, she not gonna be curved like a Coca-Cola bottle right afterwards.
Right.
Nah, she she's not. Like realistically, it's
That's the
not
being realistic part. That's being realistic.
right.
Yeah.
It's not gonna snap right back. What's your boy Cat Williams said, if a woman got stretch marks, it's either because she was big and got small or she was small and got big.
Big. Right. Right.
It is what it is. Like,
Right.
if you love this woman, if you want to be with her, you down with her, stretch marks, but I'm going to kiss your stretch marks. Whatever.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
You
That's love, man.
you might be the cause of it, right? She had a baby. Whatever.
Right.
Like, it's
Exactly.
life. What we doing
That's
here?
life.
Right.
100%.
Let's be
Ain't
realistic.
nothing wrong with the
I
tiger
know
stripes.
that's
Ain't nothing
something.
wrong with them.
That's the
Nothing
thing
wrong with
about
the tiger
marriage
stripe.
and any of it is being realistic.
And this is such an interesting topic because at the end of the day, I mean, relationships, marriage are a fundamental part of our society, and they're gonna go. I hope it goes for the positive, because I don't think everybody's gonna be married or everybody should be in a relationship. You know, I had times where I really enjoyed being single. You know what I'm saying? For sure. You know what I'm saying? Or just being by myself. I enjoyed that stuff too. I really did, and do. But at the same time, I think that the cornerstone of society, or the bedrock of society, if you will, is our relationships. We are social people. We're meant to be with people and have, you know, meaningful relationships too. So, you know what I'm saying?